2, 1.
Welcome to the first ever second episode of the week that was intentional episode of the Winged Wheel podcast. We are your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
And Brad Crisco.
Evan just texted saying he can't make it. So know that not too much is changing for this podcast. Believe it or not, even with the past 5 to 7 weeks that we've had as a podcast, over the past 7 days represents probably the biggest shift for us as a show. We are now on Spotify, which is something that we've really been pushing for. That was it was a little bit problematic technically with how our feed works for this podcast, but we are now on Spotify. So for all of you who prefer to listen on Spotify, who are Spotify users, search Winged Wheel Podcast, hit that little subscribe/heart button. I actually don't know what it is. I'm an Apple Music guy.
There's probably a button that will make our podcast populate in your feed.
Yes. If you are on there, subscribe. I really have to learn the nature of each episode. Can you?
I've literally never used Spotify in my life, so I am letting you drown here, son.
Yep, I think you just have to like the show. Anyways, if you're on Spotify, you know better than me, and just do the thing for the show. Hashtag do the thing on Spotify for the Winged Wheel Pod.
That's like the third worst hashtag we've ever had for this podcast.
It's also the fifth best. Not only that, we have started our running pilot. We're moving to 2 episodes a week. This is something that we've been talking about for a long time. If you think that this is by any means fleshed out and we know exactly what we're doing, you are so wrong. To all of our Patreon patrons, there's going to be a post up explaining these changes. The reason we delayed these changes is because we want to make sure this made sense for you. For all of our listeners, we are going to be trying 2 a week. This is very much a fluid thing. We're going to be taking feedback, so if you have feedback, tweet it at us, DM us, whatever it might be. We're testing this out, and we'll see how it goes from there. Best case Ontario, this is something that we'll do during the regular season, so by no means are we going to try and eke out 2 episodes of content a week in the off season.
Oh god, no, yeah. As soon as that silver cup goes in the air, we are on holiday mode, which is to say we're going to cut our workload in.
Yeah, and maybe even when the Red Wings aren't in the playoffs.
Depends how eventful the playoffs are. That'll be as we go, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's if this makes it that far. If this tanks, then this tanks. But right now we have decided to take up all of the free time we had in our lives and double up the content, which is something we're excited to do. And the third thing is something that I realized I want to surprise people with. So we won't say it out loud, but we secured a pretty big host that will be coming soon. We'll talk a little bit about the way these episodes are going to work. We're going to try and bring guests on a lot more often.
A lot more frequently now. So, which does remind us, because this might end up happening with the guest Ryan is teasing. Don't expect all the guests' interviews to necessarily be time specific, because how do I explain this without giving away? We may have to post that guest episode on the Wednesday or the Thursday, but we're probably recording it the weekend before.
Yeah.
There are reasons which will make sense, and that might happen more than once. So in a lot of the guest episodes, we might not cover time-sensitive topics like the Red Wings' last game or something like that. Just understand that is going to happen from time to time. Again, the benefit of that means, hey, you can listen to it anytime. It's not like you need to listen to it in 3 days because we're rhyming off all the current news. So,
and that's another thing. We often get requests for special episodes, like talk about the history of this or that, or talk about the nature of captaincy in the game, or do a whole big argument about X, Y, and Z. And those episodes that will be a little bit more timeless and we could probably frame out as an individual episode, those will be the midweek episodes when they come up. And that way, when you guys say you want to go back, you don't have to go back and look for an episode with a pun title about Danny DeKaiser skating backwards. You'll say oh, this is the episode about hockey's history in the Mesquite region of this part of America. I made that up. If you're from that region, or if it even is a region, I'm either sorry or you're welcome.
Isn't Mesquite a flavor?
Sure. Yeah. Sure is. So that's it's exciting for us. again, we're still feeling this out, but we wouldn't be doing this without all of your support. The people we have to thank the most are our Patreon patrons, more than any sponsors that we've had, more than maybe a tide of
Speaking
crystal.
of which, still looking for sponsors.
Yeah, I reached out to someone yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, I should probably talk to you about that after.
Oh, yeah, that's probably a thing.
I don't know. We'll see. Another thing with sponsorships, you'll notice that we haven't run with a sponsor since we had Strong, and that's because we only will pick up sponsors that make sense for you guys. We don't want to, A, have our ads be gross. Some podcasts I listen to have gross ads, and it's very annoying. And B, we want it to make it relevant to you. But I digress. We digress. This is something we're pumped to do, and for at least right now, we're doing it. And let us know how you feel on Spotify, or iTunes, or your RSS feed, or if you're here in the basement listening, but that's definitely not Evan. I'm very tired.
I'm the one with the kid who didn't sleep last night.
Yeah. Who didn't sleep, your kid or you?
Yeah, Mika. Well, neither, because of the kid.
Yeah, well, it was a little cold in my place last night.
Yeah, well, welcome to Autopilot. I will spew out 3 hot takes this episode.
You spew everything that you say.
And then that will be my quota for the episode.
Ooh, burn.
Yeah,
We're not operating on the same wavelength right now.
No, we are not.
I think it makes for good radio, though.
We lost every patron we had in that last
Quite possibly.
20 seconds.
Oh, for patrons, we're going to make this a no-charge episode because this is our first and we want to pilot it and we want it, just for you.
Yeah.
Another thing. We won't be doing true overtime in these episodes, but patrons will still have their comments read out in these
No
episodes.
overtime this episode, but going forward.
Going forward.
Yeah, mainly because, I don't even think we're allowed to post twice on Reddit in a week, are we?
No.
No, God, no. So we couldn't even if we wanted, so we'll just be Patreon only for the weekday episodes. And again, depending if we have like a guest host for a full episode during the weekday, there might not be an overtime that week, depending. Like I said, we're trying to avoid a lot of redundancy between the 2 weekly episodes, so hence why the weekday episodes might be structured a little differently from the weekend episodes. So the weekday will probably generally be shorter, more guests, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, we got hockey stuff to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it. Where did we say we were going to start? All right, something that was near and dear to me. Okay. First of all, Austin Matthews has not stopped scoring goals.
He has more goals than the Detroit Red Wings. End of statement. There's no joke there.
For those of you who have been listening to us, you will know us as obviously very avid Red Wings fans. Personally, we try to keep it more objective for this show. Sometimes that doesn't work, but nothing will ever contain our love and pure amazement at how good Austin Matthews is.
Didn't I say a couple episodes ago he was my favorite player on a team I hate?
Yeah, you did. I think.
Yeah.
He's insane, and people, in a weird way, he's almost underrated because people love to hate on Toronto, myself included. Yeah, for sure, he's surrounded by great talent, but I've watched as many Toronto games as I could so far. Holy hell, that guy, his goals should count as 2, with how nice they are.
Yeah,
with how clinical they are.
The Leafs don't score ugly goals. That's the scary thing about how much they score. To be fair, though, they've given up 21 goals in 4 games.
Oh, which is what everyone expected.
Yeah.
Something that's been hilarious with Leafs Twitter is everyone will be like, Ron Hainsey, what was that? Oh my god, Ron Hainsey, how did he make that mistake? And I was just sitting here like, why is everyone surprised? This has been the case the whole time. It's Ron Hainsey, and it's Mike Babcock. Of course this is going to happen. Anyhow.
And speaking of which, just for relevance, in case you're wondering, the Red Wings-Leafs game tonight is starting in 20 minutes. This was the only time this week we were able to record, so we're probably actually going to be recording over the game. So
yeah.
We may actually live record some of this massacre. So,
so forget these episodes being timeless.
Yeah.
Anyways, Austin Matthews scored a goal against Chicago on the road in Chicago, and he did a celebration where he put his hand up to his ear and waved his fingers to say I can't hear you, because he silenced the crowd.
For context, this was the go-ahead goal with just under 2 minutes left.
Patrick Kane a fellow American and friend of Austin Matthews, went and scored the tying goal, was it?
Yeah, he tied it up like a minute later.
And mimicked the celebration and was kind of laughing, and then they panned to Austin Matthews and he was laughing. It was a great moment for hockey entertainment. I loved it. And then afterwards, Patty Kane came out, when the reporter asked him, because obviously they were going to, he said something like, yeah, when I saw that celebration, I didn't really like it at first. And I'm like, well, all right. And then he said, I didn't really love that he did that. The ref actually said something about maybe calling it unsportsmanlike conduct. But then it was good to get the goal afterwards and get back at him. And all I could think of was Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane of the break the stick over your knee celebrations. Patrick Kane over draw a heart in the air with your hands and punch through it with a literal shot through the heart celebration is saying you didn't like that celebration. Patrick Kane, you hypocrite. That was the stupidest, most tilting baloney I've ever heard. Admittedly, so much of this is coming from the now dead Detroit-Chicago rivalry. I loved how Patty Kane gave him that celebration back. But to say it should have had an unsportsmanlike conduct called, spare me, Patty. Honestly, can we call this episode "Spare Me, Patty"?
Sure, we'll go for it.
Because it was you are the biggest proponent of those celebrations. You and Ovechkin with the fire stick are the only two players of 5 years ago who would do celebrations like that.
The only way you should ever get an unsportsmanlike penalty for a celebration is if you draw the heart in the air, take your stick, throw it like a javelin through the heart, and inadvertently hit a player on the other team.
Honestly, yeah. Because, oh God, is that ever, the hypocrisy. And for a guy who thrives so much on a high-skill, entertaining game, why would you... I get that you it might have pissed you off because it was in your barn and it was a young guy and it was who is he to do it? But also, spare me, Patty, is my response to that.
If you were angry because the team you're playing took the lead with 2 minutes left, hey, you're a professional NHL player. You're supposed to be angry when that happens. But yeah, it was maybe there should have been an unsportsmanlike on that. Either that was the driest delivery of a sarcastic comment ever, which, to be fair, it's Kane. Can't rule it out.
It could have been, and if it was, I'm very sorry.
But yeah, I mean... Come on. He did it back, too. It's if you are holier than thou, and you're so anti-celebration, whatever, blah, 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 wouldn't you be the bigger person and just kind of, not celebrate and just kind of look at him on the bench after you tied the game?
Or
maybe... Okay, here's my thing, and here's my opinion on this. Because I have a real hatred for this... Which we'll get into the larger conversation of it soon. I have a real hatred of this whole old school hockey. You're not bigger than the team. You shouldn't stand out. Score your goal, put your head down, skate to the bench, act like you don't. No, if I was an NHL player and I scored an important goal like Matthews did there, I'm jumping into the fifth row and I'm clapping with the fans. I'm doing whatever ridiculous celebration I can because I get paid millions of dollars and people paid millions of dollars to watch us play hockey. It's a big deal when we score a big goal, so I'm going to act as such. I don't even care. Lars Eller wants to show off in a 7-0 game running down the bench. Good. There's a way to stop those celebrations.
You're sucker punching him.
Don't let the other team score. If you give them the chance to celebrate, it means you did your job poorly.
Yeah. I think Mike Babcock said that once when he was a coach with Detroit. I think it was Pittsburgh was hot dogging us or something, and he was like, "Well, if we don't like it, then..." Because a player said he didn't like it, and he said, "Well, if we don't like it, then we shouldn't let him score."
Yeah, perfect. Don't. It's
also please rate me 1 to 10 on my Babcock impression. Thank you.
Yeah, you used far too many vowels in there. Remember, Mike Babcock speaks in no vowels. Player is spelled PLR in his vocabulary.
Yeah, kind of.
He's a good player. He's a good player. Anyways, and I was even reading a quote. Doug Peterson, the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, he tells his players, score a touchdown, celebrate. Show your personality. You're only a professional athlete for what? On average, the average career is what, 4 to 6 years?
Yeah.
You got a limited time. Have fun with it. Show your personality. Maybe it gets you a gig after the thing. You score a touchdown, you score a goal, whatever it is. You did your job well. People are cheering for you. Celebrate. Do it. I want more of this garbage. What is one of the most iconic hockey moments of the 1990s? Is it there's tons, don't get me wrong. But there's a regular season goal, mind you, it was a record-setting goal that people remember, not because he broke Mike Posse's record, but everybody remembers Timo Solani throwing that glove 30 feet in the air and shooting it down with his stick. I want more of this.
I also want more 70-goal rookie seasons. Please take note, NHL rookies.
I'll say it. Maybe the way scoring's going in the NHL, we'll talk about that Sunday. But the way it's going,
Yeah,
maybe. But yeah, it's great, like, because everybody was ripping on Austin Matthews this week because he was wearing a ridiculously ugly coat in a GQ magazine. GQ's a mainstream magazine. Hockey fans are the worst for the, please like my sport, please like my sport. Oh yeah, soccer players are wussies, please like my sport, hockey play. Like, hockey fans are the worst for that.
I love seeing hockey players in the front of magazine covers.
Yeah, this is a mainstream magazine that millions of people who are not hockey fans read. If they're going through that and finding Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews, if it's just something so stupid like that gets them to watch a game, that's amazing. And then they're going to follow the player. They're not... Because here's the thing that the NBA and the NFL, the NBA especially, I love the way they do it. If you're, like, we're Red Wings fans, right? Objectively, we don't give a crap what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs or the San Jose Sharks or whatever team.
As Red Wings fans.
As Red Wings fans, right?
As hockey podcasters we now have.
We do, but yeah, it's like... But here's the thing. Who's my favorite player outside of the Detroit Red Wings? Erik Karlsson. I love Erik Karlsson. I'm following San Jose this year because I want to see what Erik Karlsson does. I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs with a passion. I love watching Austin Matthews.
Oh, God, yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers are nothing to me. I will watch every Oilers game I can because of Connor McDavid. PK Subban. I'll watch Nashville because people will follow players, even if they're not a fan of that team or from that area. You want to market the NHL, market the players, not the teams. Because if you're from Detroit, you're going to cheer for the Red Wings. Doesn't matter who's on the team. Like 98% of that city is going to cheer for the Red Wings. So who cares? That's great. But maybe, just maybe, Andreas Athanasiou with his crazy moves and all that. Maybe there's someone out in Oregon who's watching him. And he's like, wow, that's amazing. I'm going to follow this guy. Mm-hmm. This is what the NHL's been missing. And when I hear garbage from Patrick Kane, like we can't celebrate, we don't want to put up our personalities or the old school hockey does it, it drives me nuts. You can't have the please like my sport argument and then in the same breath be like, we need to, you're not bigger than the game, you're not bigger than the team, you're not, you got to act like you've been there before.
And the two things that get me about that is, one, Patty Kane doesn't actually believe that.
There's no way.
No. He was just caught up in the moment. Two, he represents a play style that the NHL needs to be selling more. His personality, I mean, the things that he's done in his personal life are not stuff that I would like.
Allegedly.
Yep. Which will unfortunately be a topic later. Not Patrick Kane specifically. But his high level of play, his high skill game is the kind of game you want to show people. Like non-hockey fans are going to look at that and be like, oh, damn, that was unreal. I'm going to now watch more Blackhawks games, or Blues games, or Predators games, or a Red Wings game, or a Blue Jackets game, or what have you. The Austin Matthews on the GQ cover was the perfect example. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with hockey? Nothing. Growing the game does not make... You can't grow the game by advertising it to people who know so much about the game they can probably tell you a player's breakout percentage, or successful breakout percentage when on the penalty kill. That doesn't make sense. You have to grow the game to people who aren't hockey fans. That's how you do it. When we grow this podcast, well, I mean, no, that's wrong. We have to advertise to hockey fans because not every hockey fan knows us. But if if 31 Thoughts or a huge podcast is growing their podcast, they're advertising to people who are gonna maybe not want or maybe don't consume that much hockey media at all, and this will be their foray into it, and it will get them more into the game.
Regardless of trying to grow the game, if Austin Matthews wants to put on an ugly coat and get paid for a photo shoot, why shouldn't he?
It's better for us. It's more entertaining.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you want to rip on him for wearing an ugly coat and it has nothing to do with hockey, you're just reading the magazine and goes, wow, this guy looks like an idiot. Whatever, cool. Go for it. For the record, McDavid's photo shoot blew Matthews out of the water.
That coat was pretty dope.
It looked like it was spray painted in parts.
Yeah, I know.
I totally don't get fashion. I say that as I'm wearing my work uniform.
I'm a fashionista. The best example I can think of is the fact that I'm a tangential, I'm a very cursory glance NBA fan at best. I'm a Detroit sports fan through and through, and I know how the Pistons are just not great. And so, but you know why I'm more. You know what story I'm constantly the most invested in the NBA that caused me to read articles and look at message boards and watch games?
Kevin Durant.
LeBron James.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Durant close second because I love hating on Kevin Durant. But LeBron James, who is the biggest personality to come to the game in the last 15 years. Since Kobe Bryant came in and dominated the league, LeBron James.
How long ago did Dennis Rodman retire?
Yeah, well, he's in the news for different reasons, which is kind of weird and we don't talk about it. The NBA sells their players better than any other league in the world, bar none. End of story. Soccer sells itself, but soccer's literally
Soccer is
religion.
cheap. Sells itself.
Soccer.
Not cheap like it's dirty. It's you can play with them.
Everyone plays soccer.
If you have something that you can kick and it will roll, you can play soccer. I'll get into one of those big rants and how that relates to hockey one day, but you know what? I'll save that for a bigger episode.
Did we talk about what Carolina did?
Oh no, we didn't even talk about it. Talking about personalities.
Yeah.
Carolina's doing the Viking clap and then jumping through the glass at the end of the game. It's amazing. I love it. People are ripping them for it. They're like, "What are you doing? This? You stick in the air, salute." No, I want them to jump over the glass. Meet the fans in like the section 217B. I don't care.
Have a tradition where fans, you make hot dogs $1 for the last 10 minutes of the game, and then they throw them all over to the players, and the players eat hot dogs on the ice for the fans, while sitting around a campfire singing "Kumbaya." Was that too much?
I was with you to the end there.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, and Justin Williams. It wasn't a rookie who's
It was their captain.
It was their captain. They're vet. They're good old-timey hockey players. Like, yeah, let's do this weird celebration that nobody's ever done anything like at the end of the game. And I love it. I'm here for this. If I want Detroit to skate like a celebratory figure eight lap around the thing while they all carry Red Wings flags. Oh no, instead of a flag, it's a really, really long hockey seat. And then lined down the hockey stick, and they're all carrying one, and lined down the stick are a bunch of black seat covers, and they just parade them around the ice.
I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of NHL we want to see. Honestly, you know who we have to thank for this? Gritty.
Gritty. Oh my god, I love Gritty.
We genuinely
Gritty's on Conan.
Was he actually?
Well, it's a knockoff version of Gritty.
We genuinely have Gritty to thank for this.
The Gritty, a post in the Gritty subreddit, which by the way, Gritty has a subreddit, got to the front page of Reddit.
Of course.
Anybody who hates Gritty is anti-fun, and I fundamentally disagree with you as a person.
Yeah, same.
Gritty is amazing. Gritty is the best mascot in the league, bar none.
Oh, 100%.
Game over. He wins.
Yeah. This is the best, this is the most entertaining start to a season I've seen in some time. Genuinely and truly, and lot of...
As a hockey fan, not as a Red Wings fan.
Oh, God, yeah.
The Red Wings have 6 goals so far.
This is one of the worst well, actually, this was more exciting than last year.
And Cholowski's hurt, so the one thing we were excited about, you know.
Oh, yeah, God is dead, love is folly, happiness is foolishness, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I was a little upset when I found out that we could only record on Thursday this week, but then I'm like, oh, the Wings are playing the Leafs. Yeah, the less of that game I watched, the probably better it is for my mental health.
Honestly, yeah.
But then again, the Leafs lost to the Senators. But then again, the Senators look better than you'd think.
You know what? The Leafs are a Mike Babcock team, and Mike Babcock teams traditionally have a tendency to play down. They play down to their opponents.
Yeah, because Toronto hasn't won they've won, one game in regulation this year? And they've played Montreal, Ottawa, Chicago, and Dallas. So 4 non-playoff teams from last year. Hockey doesn't make sense, but if there's anything I know, are you on a gold drought? Are you on a winless streak? Having a rough go of it? I have a cure for you. Introducing the Detroit Red Wings. We will break whatever slump you are in. Surely, quickly, and efficiently. Detroit Red Wings. Do not consume more than once.
Yeah, this all started since we were on the Red Wings were on that 22 or 23 game home win streak, and then they lost in a shootout to Vancouver, and I think it was Mason Raymond who did the break the stick over his knee celebration because he broke the streak. And ever since then, Detroit have been the inverse of that streak.
They've been the slump busters.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we need to give Mason Raymond a PTO next year to reverse it.
Because he's not in the league anymore, is he?
Probably not. I've not heard his name. I think he was on the Canadian Olympic team.
Yeah, that's about the last I heard of him.
Yeah, so he's probably playing in some European league.
I was just checking out Spotify and I saw that an old sponsor was listed, and then I realized our profile on SoundCloud wasn't updated. So thank you, Spotify. Hey, did we tell you our new hashtag? Hashtag do the thing on Spotify for the Winged Wheel podcast. Was that what it was? I can't remember.
No, definitely not.
Was that now I feel like that's what it was. Hashtag do the thing.
I think it was longer than that. I think you kind of sold this one short.
I'm sorry.
As you should be.
Moving on, I had a lot of driving this past weekend. This past weekend was Canadian Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners. I drove to Windsor and back in a day, which wasn't great, but
I met that on Thursday.
I met a puppy. I brought my friends their golden retriever because he was from a farm in Waterloo, and I drove him home to Windsor. And it was the cutest. He was 8 weeks old. He was the cutest damn thing in the world. I had a hard time giving him up at the end. I digress. On my drive back, I was listening to the Red Wings. What was the last game? Who was it against?
Monday against Anaheim.
And the Red Wings Anaheim game. The Red Wings Ducks game, I should say.
Which we will talk about shortly. But.
Yeah. And at intermission, I think Sirius XM radio or Hockey Talk crew did an interview with Ken Holland, and they asked him about two things. First of all was Philip Zadina, and Holland was talking about why he had Zadina down. He was talking about the normal things that we've talked about, spacing issues, like goal scorers need their space, and he wasn't used to the pace of the game and how quickly that space collapses, and he had to get used to that. And then he said something impressive to me. He was like, Zadina is a star player who needs to feel important. If you're a star player that has a chance to be a superstar, you need to be important on the ice. And that's why we want him in Grand Rapids, to give him the chance to grow and develop so he is the most important player on the ice. Because that is crucial to him being a star in the show. And I was like, that's really good. And then he went on and said, I'm not worried about how good Zadina is at 19. I'm worried about how good he is at 22. And I'm like, Kenny, keep going. And then he said, this team is going through a transition period and we have a lot of young guys. He said in so many words, this team's not going to compete for the next few years, which is right. He's like, I want Zadina to be I want him to be ready at 22 for when we compete. I'm like, holy shit, that was amazing. That is exactly what you want to hear. And then they asked him about the captaincy, and because the Red Wings are running with obviously 4As, and he said, well, I don't think it's too important to have a captain in a situation like this. And I went, whatever. And then he was talking about why they picked who they picked. He's like, well, we know Larks had an A in the World Championship, and Nielsen had an A in Long Island, and I went, stupid. And then he said something like, the thing is, if we give it to a young guy, I'm assuming is what he meant was Larkin, they're going to have to hear reporters and shoulder the weight of this team not being good for the next however long. And I'm like, first of all, amazing that he's admitting that. Secondly, that's actually a great point that a lot of people hadn't even considered. He's like, that's a lot for them. He's like, I don't want to put them through that. I don't want to put them through that before they're ready because they're still growing as players. I was very impressed by that interview.
Yeah, so what I'm reading from that is, reading between the lines, we don't want to give the captaincy anytime soon to a young player because his team's going to be bad, and, we don't want to put that shoulder on him. So I'm taking that as, this is going to be my justification when Justin Abdelkader is the next captain of the Detroit Red Wings. That's what the cynic in me thinks. I'm hoping they after hearing that, my guess is they're probably going to ride two, maybe 3 seasons without a C and then just give it to Larkin and call it a day. Which, yeah, again, I don't know if I like that because, how do I word this? What's going to be more pressure for a new captain specifically? Getting constantly asked why the team's bad by reporters, and then giving some mouthpiece answer that doesn't really matter, because let's be honest, those type of questions don't ever get real answers. Or when all of a sudden the team's good, there's pressure to win. The team's looking to you to perform and lead this team to a playoff berth, a conference final, a cup championship, whatever the goal is that year. I don't know, man. I think it'd be easier to field questions than reporters and have the entirety of a good organization on my back as I try to carry them.
But that's
to
the
weight of their
right?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And you want your captain to get there eventually, right? But that's what I'm saying is there's nothing expected of a captain right now while this team's bad other than making sure your team has good habits and answering some shitty questions from some annoyed reporters. Like, if you want a young player to learn how to be captain, when you suck is the time, because then they're ready for it when you're good. Then it's like, hey, Larkin, you know that little bit of pressure you've had for the last couple years with the C on your chest? Good. The Stanley Cup is the goal now because we're a team. Take us there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much... I understand his logic, and on a lot of levels I actually agree with it, but on more levels I don't. I feel like it's just... if they want to wait a year, 1 year, sure. But yeah, if they run it past that, I don't know. I feel like this is the time. When your team's bad and there's no expectations, this is the time to learn. Whether it's Zadina in Grand Rapids, whether it's giving a C to a young player, whether it's trying a guy like Athanasiou at center, whether it's figuring out if Dennis Cholowski's a top 4 defenseman. This is the time to learn that stuff. Because then you have answers and you know what you're getting into when it counts, when it matters.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on that front. I think if I had a choice, it would be Larkin's the captain right now, end of story. But I don't necessarily completely disagree with his reasoning.
Yeah, I see the logic. Like, there's a lot of things Jeff Blashill does where I don't understand where he's coming from at all in any sense, but...
there's logic, right? There's logic that we can follow.
Yeah. Oh.
Which has been few and far, like little and far between, historically.
Oh, which leads me to my next point, my weekly point, where I said, when Blashill does the Red Wings and Blashill do things well, I'm going to give them credit.
Yeah.
Blashill didn't do a lot over the last week for me to give him credit for, but there was a couple things. So I'm going to start with that, just so people know I'm just not blindly hitting on Blashill. So, what was our biggest gripe on our episode last week after Columbus?
Line changing.
The fourth line getting the first line minutes. That ended the next 2 games.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Glendening, Helm, Christopher N. were the lowest time on ice of all the forward lines for the games against LA and Anaheim. And they were riding the Larkin line hard. They were riding the Nielsen line a bit more. Athanasiou's line was getting out there a bit. And, hey, spoiler, the Red Wings massively outplayed the Los Angeles Kings on Sunday night, ultimately losing, which, if we're being honest, that game was on Bernier. The Kings scored an empty netter, so essentially it was a 3-2 game, and 2 of the goals were just direct blunders to Jonathan Bernier. You would like the Red Wings to score more than 2 goals in a game where they're badly outshooting their opponent, but that's hockey. You don't get the break sometimes. And it's not like the Red Wings have, like, a whole slew of elite offensive weapons up there. They have a lot of really good offensive weapons.
That's just showbiz, baby.
Yeah, that was Jack Campbell being really on his game, Jonathan Bernier being really not on his game. That's hockey, that's fine. Those are actually, like, honestly, this season the best case scenario games. Team plays well, you go, yes, we can do this, we look good. No points in the standings, here we come, Jack Hughes. Because, again, the defense looked great. Cholowski continues to look phenomenal. That's why I was so... Even though it's just a day-to-day injury, I'm so rattled. We'll talk more about like players specifically on the Sunday episode, like we said, because I have some in-depth thoughts about a couple of the guys that would take way too long for this episode. And then there's the game against Anaheim. Again, Blashill was doing the same thing. He was parading out his better players. I wouldn't say Detroit outplayed Anaheim in that game, but they were right there. That was not a game dominated by one team or the other. And again, I think Anaheim going into that game was like 3-0 on the season. So hey. If you're hanging with them, you're good. John Gibson made a couple crazy saves. Awesome. There was even a moment, and this was the moment where I'm like, okay, I've never seen Jeff Blashill do this before. And I remember it so specifically. There was a point where the fourth line jumped on the ice. They were on the ice. It couldn't have been 10, 15 seconds, like max. They were barely out there. And I think it was the Ducks game. The Ducks iced the puck. So the Red Wings get an offensive zone draw. Blashill would leave the fourth line out there every time. He didn't. He immediately pulled them off the ice and threw Larkin's line on the ice for the offensive zone draw. And I'm like, hey, that's new. I'm a fan of that. Like, his systems and his breakout and all that are still garbage, but hey, that's a sign of progression. The Nielsen, Rasmussen, Bertuzzi line was playing more, had a beautiful goal against the Ducks.
They did.
Bertuzzi goal.
Bertuzzi's. That was That's the goal that you watch. You're like, this happens and this happens, and then just do this. Oh my god, he did it. Bertuzzi did that. Yeah. Bertuzzi right now looks like what they want Abdelkader to be doing on the first line.
So naturally, Abdelkader got promoted to the first line tonight.
Because you don't want the first line to be too talented, right? That wouldn't be a good thing. Why?
Like, a couple people respond to me when I tweeted that. I'm like, why is this a thing? Because this is the part where we go into the negative on Blasio. And... yeah, they're like, yeah, but Nyquist always looked good with Athanasiou and Vanek, and I'm fine with that. Like, that's a good line. I'm fine if his reasoning is, hey, we need to put Nyquist with these guys to get them going. Great. Athanasiou's getting a million scoring chances. He's just got some bad puck luck right now. They're going to come. Mm-hmm. But Tyler Bertuzzi's still sitting there on the third line. He could have easily went up and played with Mantha and Larkin. It's not like he hasn't before. And Bertuzzi was one of the best Red Wings on the ice on Monday. And again, because of his contract, I feel like I pick on Justin Abdelkader a lot. Because obviously, because as much as we try to separate the player from the contract, honestly, it's hard. Like, it's like, oh man.
It is difficult when you're getting bad value on the ice.
Yeah. So it's like, again, I have time for, like, Darren Helm's contract's awful, but I have time for Darren Helm every day, all day. Luke Glendenning's contract's bad. I have time for Luke Glendening. Like, those are guys I want on my team. Man, the more I watch Justin Abdelkader, I feel like I'm getting to the point I can't justify him being on the roster anymore, let alone in the top 6 or the top 9.
There's every player that's coming in is becoming more and more talented than him.
He is bad. And again, it's early in the season. Players are shaking off the rust. I'm assuming the optimist in me says it's early in the season. He's going to get better. He scored 20 goals before. The pessimist in me goes, he hasn't scored more than 12 in a season since Pavel Datsyuk was on his line, and if he played third or fourth line minutes, he'd score 6 goals a year. So other players who played third and fourth line minutes would outscore him. And there was, I know I tweeted about this, and it horrified me. So there was, his situational awareness is none. He is a turnover machine. He gets the puck, it's going to end up on the other team's stick within 5 seconds. It's almost automatic. For a guy who's a grinder and, like, that's his thing, has anybody seen him win a puck battle on the boards this year? I haven't. But there was one play against Anaheim where I was just wowed. So, there was a play, I think his line mates were changing. The puck got dumped in to Anaheim's zone. Anaheim completely botched whatever the hell they were trying to do. So, Abdelkader picked up the puck behind the net. Keep in mind, the Red Wings had no pressure coming in at that very moment, so there was no reason for 3 Ducks to be in front of the net. Abdelkader got the puck behind the net with all the time in the world because nobody was chasing him for some reason. Rather than picking his head up, figuring out that none of his teammates are coming in and no Ducks are changing, he probably has, like, he can probably eat 5-6 seconds for support to come in. He gets the puck, doesn't look, panics, fires the puck into the back of the net, like kind of like on the side of the net.
Not like the good back of the net.
Yeah, he fires it into the literal back of the net, and then it just kicks out to the side to a Ducks defenseman who starts a clean breakout down the other way. I'm just like, that is not a play a beer leaguer makes. There's no pressure, you have no support, you blindly fire the puck literally into an object. Like,
an Abdelkader play that I watched, he was on a breakaway an odd man rush. I can't remember with who it was, but it was maybe like a Mantha or like a high talent offensive player. They had the puck moving down center right of the ice. What does he do skating along with them on an odd man rush? It was Athanasiou. He crowds Athanasiou. He skates near him. To the left of Athanasiou. So, in the middle of the ice, across a passing lane, he's crowding Athanasiou. I'm like, Abdelkader, what are you doing? Athanasiou is faster than him, thankfully. Keeps up, doesn't go offside. Moves Vanek to the right or to the left where he should be. He moves, he trails a little bit to give his winger some space. Abdelkader then decides, I can't crowd him anymore. What do? He skates into the only 2 defenders that are back at the moment, putting himself in a low percentage area where Athanasiou can no longer get to him. He frees up a defender because they no longer now have to cover an area. They're literally covering a player because he moved towards them. So Athanasiou now has a guy dedicated purely towards cutting off the pass. He still gets a pass across to Vanek. Vanek gets a shot off. Where does the rebound go? into the open ice where Abdulkader should have been. He moved into a low percentage area on an odd man break when there is literally no one covering him. Just stay in open ice. The kicker is the whole reason Abdulkader started out on these getting top line minutes is when he used to play with Datsuk, and they would say things like, well, we like Abdulkader, he's not the most talented, but he finds the open ice. I'm sorry, where did that go? Because that's not something that goes away with age. That's something that gets better with experience. That is not driven by speed or puck handling or anything. That is literally just moving to the part of the ice where there isn't a body. Most toddlers can figure out what that is through object permanence. And here's Justin Abdulkader skating into the two defenders on whoever, I can't remember what the game was. That's not difficult analysis to make. My little cousin who's 12 years old could have made that. Like, it's just stupid. It was a low percentage play.
That's the infuriating part about Abdulkader. It's not his skill that pisses you off. You can be an effective a low skill NHL player. Love the guy. Thomas Holmstrom could barely skate, had a muffin of a shot. He was good at one thing: finding open ice, pissing off goalies, and tipping pucks. Abdulkader has all the capability in the world to do that, if not objectively better than Holmstrom outside of the deflection part, because Holmstrom was a wizard at that. But he doesn't. Because he doesn't know what to do on the ice. Because his hockey IQ is nil.
His hockey IQ is non-existent.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be a low skill player on a high skill line, bury the garbage. That is what you can do the same as everyone else is burying the garbage. It is not hard. Bury the garbage. Get into the space where you know the puck is gonna be, and just fire the puck. Will you be the one breaking out of the offensive zone? No. Will you be the one doing the zone entry? No. Are you gonna be the one making the insane pass? No. Are you able to move your stick in the direction of the net to shoot the puck? Yeah. There you go. And yet you have him, in Athanasiou's ear going, hey, how you doing? Like, it was so annoying to watch. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And Athanasiou's on the first line tonight.
And then after this game, he gets promoted to the top line. Like, this is...
The whole fallacy of Abdulkader being a top 6 player is...
He's not a top 12 player in my mind anymore.
No!
Obviously, you can't bury that contract. You can't, because then you're just admitting...
No, the team's stuck with him.
Yeah, but if he didn't have that contract, he's out of the lineup. I'm putting Ferk in yesterday. Like, there's no debate in my mind. I pull up Dominic Turgeon. Pull up anybody. Literally anybody.
The thing that gets me is Abdulkader isn't even a remnant of a bygone era. His first year was 2009. Yeah, he scored those 2 goals in Game 7 against Pittsburgh, or in Game 1 against Pittsburgh. They lost those finals, so I'm not too fond of that series. He came on. That was his rookie year, right?
Yeah.
He came on, and the team started declining soon thereafter. And then they rewarded him because he was, the only player left that teams, the fans liked? I don't get it. I don't get any decision made with Abdulkader. He must have pictures of someone's wife. He must, it's just, I like the guy, and I think he's a good person and a good character for the team, but I hate saying that because that means that adds 0 goals, that adds 0 assists, that adds 0 points, that adds 0 wins to your win column. It's worth 0 ROWs, it's worth 0 Corsair, Fenwick, or whatever stat you care about.
It's worth 1 Jack Hughes.
It's worth 1. His Michigan per 60 is very high. His Michigan per 60 is quite high, rivaled only by Abdulkader's and Zetterberg's when he was still on the team. Or sorry, DeKaiser's and Zetterberg's.
Yeah.
Zetterberg actually might have had the highest Michigan per 60 of any player ever.
Iserman.
Oh yeah, Iserman's the true...
Yeah.
I was explaining to my coworkers today, I'm like, Iserman's like the son of this city. He is like our... He really was. If you pay attention to the movie RoboCop, he was the protagonist. The statue of RoboCop is actually just a statue of Iserman with a RoboCop costume on. I miss him. There's been a tweet going around saying your Halloween costume is like your biggest fear with the word sexy in front of it, and I tweeted out, "Sexy Iserman doesn't want to come back to Detroit."
It's scary accurate. I legitimately believe that's your biggest fear in life.
It is? Work is whatever.
Yeah, career, work,
Spiders suck.
life, happiness, doesn't matter.
No, spiders are suck. I hate spiders. Close second. But Yzerman not coming back to Detroit in the end would crush me in a lot of bad ways. Yeah, yeah, that would do it for me.
I should have just tweeted sexy Jeff Blashill contract extension, but anyways. I missed my opportunity because I'm not clever.
Brad said we had to make this one a short topic, and so we'll do it as a short topic.
Because we had to, unless we want to do 6 hours of podcast a week.
The Detroit
just
Red Wings,
recording time, not planning time.
The Detroit Red Wings came out. Detroit Red Wings and Olympia Entertainment, I think, came out and said that the lower bowl of seats, and then I think eventually the whole arena.
They're replacing all the seats.
Yep, from red to black. And they said it was a move because of the Pistons, but it is so obviously a feeble attempt to cover up the fact that they're having attendance issues.
Yeah, because the tickets are $125 a pop to go watch a bad hockey team.
The two things that count to that affect attendance the most. 1, ticket prices. 2, on ice product. What order they're in, I don't care. The things that don't help changing the whole aesthetic of the arena and ruining the fan experience, the fact that that arena was red was amazing. It's a gorgeous arena. And you're taking away from it and making the seats black to cover up that there's no one there. First of all, they're going to know regardless. Secondly, how stupid.
Okay, here's the thing that's even... The only reason I can legitimately believe maybe it isn't because of the attendance issues is because what does every good hockey fan wear to a hockey game? Their damn jersey. 90% of the crowd's wearing red any given game. This is going to make it stand out more.
Yep. And they're like, oh, the Pistons felt like they weren't playing at home. Red is one of their primary colors. It is the most prominent color in their logo.
Do you know what color is not in the Pistons or Red Wings uniform? Black.
First of all, it makes the arena less vibrant and bright and original and unique. Secondly, that arena was designed like that to make the opposing teams feel claustrophobic, like they were being surrounded by such a dominant, prominent color of your opponent, red. Third, screw you, it's a stupid move for a stupid reason, and it is insulting to the fan base, it ruins the experience, and I want people to nag at this issue, to constantly go off about it until they switch it back. Yeah, because
there's only seat covers right now, so it's not too late.
Well, in December, they're going to start making it permanent. It's going to take several months.
We've got time.
Yeah. It is so reflective of an ownership group or administration or whoever made the call that doesn't understand the issue. Right?
Yeah.
First of all, don't insult people's intelligence by saying, "Oh, it's about it's about the Pistons." It's not about the damn Pistons. Their colors are red and blue. Shut up. It's just not. Secondly, don't insult their intelligence by thinking that's going to mask the attendance issues. Bonus point: fix the attendance issues properly. Lower the ticket prices. I get that you just built a new arena. It kind of came from public funds, some of it, so don't complain too much about money. It's not like you're hurting for it. For an ownership group that's always been for the fans, done things for the fans, about the culture of the team, the culture of their facilities, it just seems like such a boneheaded move. And if the Pistons group said, yeah, we don't feel at home, I would have been like,
all right, back to the Palace with you.
Yeah, okay. You're not going to move arenas because of the seat cut. If you want to, the Pistons could have hired workers to put those black temporary seat covers over the lower bowl seats every game.
And it's probably cheaper than buying all new seats.
100%. I don't care if the Pistons want to cover those seats with green seat covers, so it looks like those the morph suit guys from the Vancouver Canucks are there at every game and every seat in the arena. If that's what you want to do, then fine. But don't change the whole arena because it's garbage.
I was going to say, green lower bowl, red upper bowl. Every game feels like Christmas.
Also, this has been the plan all along. Ooh, really? Then why are we just hearing about it now?
Yeah, and why would you spend all that money on those seats just to replace them? Buy the black seats and put red seat covers on them, you morons.
I would have been fine with that. It's big. Ryan, you're screaming and yelling about something so trivial and it's just an aesthetic. Yes to both, but I don't care. It matters.
Anyways, now on to a thing that actually matters.
Yeah, now on to a
thing. Lot.
Yeah, that matters So much where you think there's no way they make the wrong decision here. Austin Watson's suspension for domestic violence was reduced after an appeal from him in the NHLPA from 27 games to 18 games. So they reduced it by a third.
Why, we literally don't know. The press release got released literally 2 minutes before we started recording.
Because today is...
let's see here. Let's read this tweet from NHL Public Relations. To the leaders and role models who continue to inspire us. Today we're celebrating you on International Day of the Girl. And then right above that tweet from NHL Public Relations is a tweet that reads, NHL and NHLPA statement on Austin Watson's suspension reduced.
Ya idiots. You big dummies. That's a bad look.
That is... If that is not the most... What's the word I'm looking for here? Because I feel like dichotomy just as a description. This is abhorrent. And that's the word I'm going to go with. This is abhorrent.
You don't pronounce the H. Abhorrent.
I'll pronounce whatever letters I damn well please.
Yeah, I know you do.
That's why I get jalapenos on pizza. Anyways.
Stupid, I hate you.
But yeah, how do you... Okay. Not to go too deep into agreeing with Steve Simmons, as Ryan was talking about before the episode, because it feels dirty, but he said Roberto Osuna gets 75 games for what he did. Austin Watson gets 27, and then they reduce it to 18. This is a complete and utter failure on the NHL and the NHLPA.
The NHLPA has a responsibility to appeal essentially every suspension that comes through. And I get that the role of a union, you have to do that. But the man pled no contest. Right?
Yeah.
He did it. This isn't an Ezekiel Elliott, there's no evidence kind of thing. This isn't... He made a stupid mistake. He made a stupid mistake. The underlying everything about that you can speculate about. He assaulted his partner. There's domestic violence that was documented, reported, and he was charged and convicted for. And they reduced his suspension by a third.
Wasn't Roberto Osuna not even actually convicted? Like he had some sort of...
I don't know. It's exhausting to read, honestly.
This is just...
The NHL
it's embarrassing.
The NHL dropped the ball hard. They really, really did. Brad's raising his hands because he agrees with me.
So someone on the Red Wings just topped their goal total from last season.
Was it?
It's 1-0 Red Wings on a goal on his first of the season.
Jimmy Howard.
Nick Jensen.
Hey, he looked scrappy the other game. His fight had shades of Larkin on Yannick Weber. He just
Jensen's just looked good. Why was he scratched for the first game?
I think he was scratched for the first game to give the kids the show.
He had to have been because he's been outside of Cholowski, probably their doing best defenseman.
If these
Danny
injuries...
DeKeyser looked surprisingly competent the last 2 games. Credit where credit's due. Like we're DeKeyser's biggest critics. I'm not saying he was great or even good, but he was better. He wasn't last year, Danny DeKeyser. He was. Steve Dangle was talking about it. Competent bum. If this is your bottom pairing guy, great. He could fill that role adequately with the way he's been playing the last couple of games.
If Danny DeKeyser has a fire lit under him, or playing with Cholowski makes him better, yeah, absolutely. Because not to say that he's not worth it, but you know what that's going to mean? Some dumb team's going to trade for him down the line.
Yeah, he is an unrestricted free agent, so he better be gone by the deadline if we don't extend him. Oh, and on that goal, first NHL point for Christopher N.
Oh, nice. When Brad just said he's an unrestricted free agent, he was talking about Nick Jensen.
Yeah.
I was talking about Danny DeKeyser.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Someone tweeted at me, Mike at Fourth Line Center on Twitter, just tweeted at me like 8 minutes ago saying, watching the game, the black covers clash with the red seats now. You can just see individual empty seats easier, as before it was just blocks of red. So good stuff, Little Caesars Arena. Real good stuff there.
This is embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. But hey, I was going into this game. We're gonna finish recording before this game's over, obviously. But I'm fully expecting either like an 11-4 rout or like a 2-1 win.
Now that Detroit is up 1-0, I'm fully expecting the Leafs to still win by 5. I hope I'm wrong.
These are the Leafs without Nylander.
Yeah.
This is the most scary offense I've seen in the East since Pittsburgh had Crosby and Malkin in the primes.
Yeah. It's then on top of Matthews and Tavares and Kadri at center, Mitch Marner's still out there carrying my fantasy team. Connor Brown is doing his thing. Kasperi Kapanen looks like a player. Oh, Patrick Marleau's still around, eh?
Kasperi Kapanen's killing it.
Well, they put him on Austin Matthews' line. I'm gonna get 40 assists on Austin Matthews' line.
Would you pass the puck that much?
I would just hear Austin go, and then I just collect my paycheck at the end of the day and love life.
Did I tell you the story of when I asked Mel what jersey she wants? Because if I have told it, I don't want to repeat it on the air.
I don't think so.
So, driving down the game, it was Mel's first hockey game, the Red Wings game, which was great, because I snatched her from the jaws of her being a Leafs fan. She's from Hamilton. She loves learning about hockey, cares about the things I care about, like an idiot. So I was like, you're a Red Wings fan now, we have to get you a jersey. And she's like, oh, that's great. And she's like, I want she loves the Winter Classic jersey from the one from the Big House, which I genuinely think is, I think it's objectively one of the nicest jerseys of all time. I mean, like any kind of jersey. But I was like, we have to get you like your favorite player. And she was like, and so I was like, you have to figure out who your favorite player is first. And driving back from the game, and I was like, so who's your favorite player? She's like, well, from what I saw, none of them. And I was like, oh my god, she's right.
You are ready.
Get it.
You are ready, young one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you are truly a Red Wings fan now. I might get her a Gordy jersey or something.
Here, just pay me for that Zetterberg jersey and we're good.
She also did request the red sequin jacket from the organist that the organist was wearing. And I said, don't be stupid. If anyone's getting that red sequin jacket, it's me. Don't you think you would wear that over me? And don't you think I would ever share that same style with you? Because I'm a fashionista. That's going to be quoted for a long time by our fans. So I've said it. Yeah.
You're a fashionista.
Hashtag do that thing on Spotify do the thing on Spotify for the Wing Wheel podcast. What did we say the episode? Spare Me Patty? Was that
Spare Me Patty,
yeah. I like that. Yeah. Well, this has been fun.
This is our first episode under an hour in a long, long, long time.
I know. Should we just sit here and hum for the next 3-ish minutes?
We should just sit here and see how long it takes Detroit to blow the lead.
Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope you like these second episodes of the week. These are episodes where we're more likely to take topic requests. So if you want us to talk about an entire topic, by all means throw that at us. We do like doing these one-off episodes in terms of just covering a story or covering a topic or creating a theme. Patreon patrons, there are extra things coming your way. We did structure this with you in mind, so check the Patreon post that's coming. It will be up soon. This has been a blast. We hope this little pilot project goes well. At the very least, it's more music, our voices for your ears for now, and let's just tune in and enjoy or despise this Red Wings Leafs game.